Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inclusion Starts Now, the podcast. We are officially in spooky season, and we are going to talk about some super spooky things about ableism and Halloween outfits and how to be an ally throughout this great month. Um, I got to talk to Cassidy, who is just an amazing disabled disability advocate. And she has, I mean, as you will see, she has so much life experience. And as a 22-year-old, she just as a human, she has just blown me away with her advocacy, her like education, her willing to learn, and just have these tough discussions with people. I can tell you right now at 22, this is not where I was at. So take a listen. And don't forget, if you don't know how to talk about inclusion with your children, go buy Dallas the dog. It is all about inclusive practices during Halloween, but it's also fun because all these animals are trick-or-treating. So thank you so much for being here, and enjoy. I guess before we like start with some of the questions, I'd love for you to like just kind of introduce yourself and your platform, to all the listeners.
Sure. Do you want me to do a visual description at all?
Yes, that would be lovely, even though I also am not consistent with that.
That is okay. Well, my name is Cassidy Huff. I am a white woman with shoulder length blonde hair. I am currently wearing black glasses and a black t-shirt with a blurred white-ish, tan-ish background behind me. And I have a pink microphone on my lap. And who am I? Let's see. Um, I am a disability rights activist. I'm a disabled disability rights activist, more specifically. So I do mostly social media activism, but also I've been very involved in political activism lately with the campaign. So that's really fun and stressful, but mostly fun. And I am a best-selling author. I am a theater nerd. I got my bachelor's of fine arts last year in musical theater. So I love, love, love the stage. I'm a writer, actor, producer, director. And yeah, I think I covered all my bases.
That's amazing. I have like a million questions. First off, I feel like we're almost the same person because well, probably the political thing is the least. I'm very bad with that.
That is
Not,
okay.
I'm not proud of that, but
As long as you're registered to vote, that's all I
I
care about.
am.
That
I
good,
am, and I
good.
vote every time.
I love that.
Um,
Then that's great. That's all you need to
But
do.
I want to know what you do. What do you do for like political advocacy?
Yeah, so I am the co-founder and executive director of a grassroots movement called Disabled Voters for Harris. And so we are focused on mobilizing disabled voters in this upcoming November election. So we host weekly meetings every Friday night, depending on the political climate. It literally changes every week. So our topic also changes every week. So this week we are going to be focusing on the policy team is going to be sharing, a post vice presidential debate recap because the vice presidential debate was last night, 2 nights ago, 2 nights ago.
Two nights.
And I don't know what day it is. And so we are very involved directly with the campaign about accessibility and how to get disabled people to vote this election, whether that's physically, whether that's learning all of the laws surrounding absentee voting and mail-in ballot voting and curbside voting and what accommodations are offered at the polls. I have a lot of information just in my brain at all times
Oh
about
my
specific
gosh.
states, and it's wild. We also offer individualized voting plans for disabled voters who need them. So we offer one-on-one meetings with people who maybe don't have the resources they need to be able to get out and vote. We figure out what state they're in, what county they're in, where the closest polling place is to them, whether or not it's too late at this point at the 3rd of October to order them an absentee ballot, different things like that. So we are very focused on disabled voters, how to mobilize them, but also how to get Vice President Kamala Harris in the presidential office.
That is amazing because
Thank
that
you.
is a huge barrier, like for
Yes.
disabled people to vote. Like that's a
Yes.
huge problem.
Mhm.
I love that that is something. Oh my gosh, why are we talking about Halloween stuff today? We should be talking about the election coming up.
That is
I,
okay.
oh my gosh.
Both are equally scary, so we can
They
cover
are.
two birds with one stone with it.
They are. I saw probably bits and pieces of the presidential and the vice presidential debate because it is poorly right during bedtime, our bedtime
Oh yeah.
routine.
Oh yeah, for little kids, of
So
course, always.
I would put it on, and both my kids are just like, "What are we watching?" Like
What is
they're
this?
4 and 2, so they're like, "This is not
Oh,
Daniel."
they're foreign.
Yeah,
Mm,
they're little, and so I'm like, "No,
that's
you guys,
hard.
this is important. Like, look at who's on the screen."
Memorize them.
Yes. Oh man, it's that's really such an amazing thing. And I'm going to put
Thank you.
everything for people to be able to find you in the show notes because that, oh my gosh, I'm like, I was already starstruck to meet you. And now I'm just like
That's so
blown
sweet.
away that you're just doing
Thank you.
such amazing things. That is
Thank
such
you.
a good, oh, I love that so much. I talk a lot about self-advocacy, and this is like a
Yeah.
huge portion that like
Yeah.
people think about how important politics are to the disabled
Mhm.
community.
Yeah, I mean, every issue is a disability issue.
Yeah.
So I was asked on a podcast last week, I think. Again, I don't know what day it is. Things are moving too fast. I know how many days there are until the election, but if you're going to ask me the date, I have no idea. Um, so I was asked the other day on a podcast what issues are on the ballot for disabled people. And I was kind of taken aback by that because I was like, every issue is a disability issue. Whether you're talking about reproductive rights, whether you're talking about the economy or social security or healthcare, whatever it is, it's it all comes back to disability because disability is inevitable for everybody.
Yeah.
And you will become disabled at some point in your lifetime, whether it's because of old age or because of an accident or because of illness. And so I think that scares a lot of people, which is why they don't realize that and why they kind of um, hide it away. But my goal through my advocacy and through my activism, political or not, is to educate others because I believe that one way, the main way to remove the fear component is by educating. And once you're educated on something, you are less scared of it automatically. So that's kind of my whole thing is educating people about what it's like living in my body every day.
Oh my gosh. I could not agree with you more that people just they don't know. And that's like, I mean, when people troll me on social media or something, or say things that just like are
Sure.
really rude or ableist or whatever, I don't block them usually. I usually sit there and try to like talk to them and ask questions,
That's the
and
same thing I do, yeah.
because it's like,
You don't
you're
know what you don't know.
because you don't know. Yeah. Um, oh, okay. I even before we get to this, I still want to ask, are you planning on ever going into politics? Because I just want to vote for you. How do you how do we get that going?
See, that question is popping up more and more, and every time it pops up, I feel like it's a sign. If you were to ask me 4 months ago, I would have said no because I was so far removed from politics. Then one day, I decided to jump into it head first, and the next week I was on Zoom calls with White House liaisons, and I was like, I feel like I'm in this now. I don't feel like I can easily get out of this. I was calling my mom, being like, "Mommy, what do I do?" She was like, "You got yourself into this. I don't know." Um, so it's a very complicated question for me. I'm 22. I don't
More than enough time. Isn't
exactly
it? You have to be 35? Oh my
something
God.
like that.
It's
Yeah.
15 years and then you
Yeah.
can be the youngest. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm 22. I am still learning about politics every day and how things work because unfortunately not a lot of the ins and outs of it is taught in school. So I am, and I went to school for musical theater. Okay, let's be very clear. I did not go into school for anything academic. I sing and I dance, and those are very hard jobs, but they are not politics. So I would have told you no, but now I would say I'm considering it. I think politics definitely fits into my life in some way. I think that it's definitely going to be a part of my activism more so than it has been ever before for the future. And I'm not sure how it's going to be involved, but hey, I'm open to being in politics. I'm not against it. I just don't feel like right this second I could run for office in any capacity at this moment.
Yeah. I mean, if you're 4 months in and you're already feeling like you're not discouraged, I feel like that's a really good
That's
sign.
what people keep telling me. That's what people keep telling me. People also keep telling me that people retire when they're 30 in politics. So it's not exactly it's not exactly comforting, but it's okay.
No, you'll crush that goal too.
Thank you.
Pretty.
I hope
So
so.
are you saying because they're like retiring because they don't want to be in politics anymore?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you'll find a way. You'll
Thank
find a
you.
way. You'll be there. You'll be president.
As long as I can still
Right.
sing and dance and be, do what I want to do, then I guess there is a way.
Yeah, I was gonna say well, the thing is I wouldn't say I'm good at singing or dancing,
That's
but I
okay.
very actively love to do both.
I love that.
Um, Huge fan. And I wish I went to school for that, but I also went to school for education and I do really love education.
Hey, we
But
need more educators.
the singing and dancing, I'm, I mean, if you like musicals, all that stuff, that is like,
Oh, I love that. Do what makes you happy, you know? You gotta have multiple aspects of your life that make you happy.
oh, you totally do. I just read this book called The Portfolio Life, and it basically talks about like how you should like taking the idea of a work portfolio, but making it a
Mm,
life portfolio. And it's like you don't just have this one special interest. Like you have a bunch of interests, and how can all of these
100%.
interests, like mix together? So it's like,
Yeah.
maybe your job is an educator, but you love like traveling or you love, I don't know, reading or something. And so it's
Yeah.
like you mix all these interests together and like grow from it. And it was a good book. I
I
like.
love that. I'll have to add that to my reading list.
Oh, I have way too many books that I'm obsessed with, so I'll
Me
try not
too.
to give you too many books.
Me too.
Um, and then you also should just give me your list of books that
We'll
I can,
trade them. We'll trade
my,
them.
yeah, my, what do you call that? My TBR, to be read book
To be
list.
read. Oh my gosh, it's so long. I have
So
too many on there.
it is impossible. And now it's like spooky season. So now I'm like, oh, well, now I got to read all these
Oh,
like
great.
fall spooky things.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. And
Twist
I'm
my
like,
arm then, I guess.
exactly. I go into my bookstore and I'm like, great, now they're all up. Okay, fine, I'll
Well,
take
I
two.
guess I'll take four. It's fine. It's no, it's okay.
It's a problem. It's
You
definitely
know it is. That's me with books and yarn. See,
ooh.
yeah, I crochet and I have like four unfinished projects that I'm currently looking at. My boyfriend's like, please just finish one.
No, you got to be in the
Sorry.
mood. That's how I feel with reading. You have to be in the mood for certain.
Yes,
I read a bunch at a time.
exactly.
When I'm in the mood to read it, I get to it.
Exactly. Could not agree more.
Okay, I want to really talk about crocheting,
Okay.
but I'm not.
Okay.
We're going to talk about,
No, we're gonna have a FaceTime session after this. I can feel it.
yes, we
You're gonna be
definitely
like,
have.
what's your number? Hmm.
We already have too many things in
No,
common.
I
Now.
love
Just
this.
see us talking for like 5 hours about all of
Oh,
this.
100%.
It's going to be an issue, but let's talk about this topic that so it's about a person without a disability dressing in a Halloween costume
Mm,
of a person with a disability, but not just, or I guess that's not the issue. It's using like an accommodation that they don't actually need, but they're using it to dress in the costume. Like for example, like Stephen Hawking, if someone dressed as him who is not disabled, but if they like used a wheelchair as that costume in while being that costume.
Mm,
What would you, I guess, well, actually, before you answer, I did do a poll on like social media asking people what they thought. There was like one person who was like, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Like 80% of the people, I can't remember, it was like 20 to 30, I don't know. A lot of people were like, no, you don't get to do that.
that's not okay. Yeah.
But then there was still like, I don't know, 10 to 15 people who were like, I don't
Interesting.
know, like, what is the answer? And as a person without a disability, I was like, well, to me, I'm like, well, if it's like a person looking up to someone as like a hero and it's not like mocking the disability or like, I didn't see a problem with it.
Mm,
But the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, well, if the disabled human community doesn't like it, then why would I do it?
mm.
I would love your opinion.
This is a really interesting topic and one that I've actually not talked about publicly before. So,
Oh,
um, I'm really interested in talking about this. So, if you were to ask me 5, maybe even 10 years ago, I would have told you that I also didn't see a problem with that, truthfully. Um, I would have, as a child, I probably would have been like, that's kind of cool. Other people want to be me? Wow, like disability is cool now? That's kind of where's this been? Um, Now as an adult, I disagree. I think it is wrong. And the reasoning is because you are wearing my disability as a costume, right?
hmm.
At the end of the night of October 31st, you get to go home and you get to take that costume off, and I don't. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, you just think it's unfair." Yes, I do think it's unfair. I think that, ethically, I don't understand how you don't see a problem with it. I just feel like I can't really put into words why it's wrong. In my bones, I'm just like, ethically, that's not correct. Like
Yeah.
that's not right. And I do think on some level it is mocking the disability community because what other marginalized group are you going to do that to? That like if you
Yeah.
did that with any other marginalized group, you would think that's offensive, right? So like,
Yeah, I feel like that has kind of been happening that people are like, why do we have these like cowboy and Indian themed parties? Or why do
mhm,
we like, it's like we're taking, people are starting to make costumes not focused on like on like cultural
mhm.
groups. But now I don't know, I guess, and I've never really thought about it as much.
Yeah, I haven't really either. I
Well,
think
oh no, you go.
I don't know. I think that if you do dress up as someone with a disability, you're kind of taking a piece of someone's identity, you know, and putting it, literally making a mockery of it and putting it out for show. And so I think that's where the problem comes in for me. I just saw a theater company that did this kind of thing where it was Helen Keller the musical,
Interesting.
and um they I had another deafblind friend of mine share it with me, and I'm also deafblind. And so to see multiple people on stage, and this really hits home for me, right? Because it's like I am a performer.
Hmm.
But to see multiple people that I would consider part of my community, my performer community, making a mockery of my other community, which is the disability community, and like a very real part of my identity and a very real part of like how I live my life every day, it really rubbed me the wrong way, you know?
Was this musical, like, was it supposed to be a comedy or was it
Yeah.
like
It was
education?
put
Oh, it
on
was
like by a comedy troupe, I'm not sure if it was like a full on musical, but it was like a bit that they were doing.
yeah.
And I like messaged I was like, I have a big enough platform. They're gonna be like, who is this girl with this blue check mark that's DMing us? So I messaged them on Instagram and I was like, hey, what is this? What this
Yeah.
is offensive. Like, hello. And they were like, well, actually, multiple people in the deafblind community reached out and said that it was funny. And I was like, who were those people? Name them. Like, I want names of these people that you
Yeah.
talked to in the deafblind community because I had multiple friends of mine who are activists and who are very prominent in the disability activism community be like, what is this? Like, this is
Yeah.
bad. And I couldn't agree more. Like, I was like, yes, what is that actually?
Yeah.
And this comedy group where I'm assuming that mo most, if not all, of the people were not disabled, was defending their actions. And that's the part that took me aback. I did not respond. Um, but I was like, what
Yeah.
even? So I feel like it's along the same circumstances, right? Where people are using my parts of my identity and pieces of other people's identities that we hold very dear to us that have caused us trauma and that have caused us joy and that have caused us pain and embarrassment and bullying as a
Hmm.
costume. And now you're gonna
Yeah.
like now you're just gonna wear it like it's like it doesn't hold any like it doesn't hold any weight for you.
Yeah. That I really like how you're describing this because it's definitely because I mean it's because when people like ask me these questions, sometimes I feel like I struggle with a good answer because I'm like, well, this is how people like that I am like an ally with feel. And so
Mm,
it's like if I'm going to be the ally and
mm.
advocate that I want to be,
Yeah, so like
if
who
I'm
am
gonna
I
be,
to like
yeah,
yeah,
like if I'm going to be advocating for like a group that I'm technically not a part of at this moment, how do I like, it wouldn't make sense for me to be like, no, you're being too sensitive. Like just
right.
the child do like be in a pretend wheelchair. Like it wouldn't make sense. But but I also feel like people can ask me just pretty insensitive questions because they don't feel like I'm being personally attacked by it, maybe.
Mm,
So, which brings me to this question.
yeah.
Because I do bring this up a lot where like so you were just saying like with acting, like that's a really big one where people are like, stop hiring non-disabled actors
Mm,
to play
mm-hmm.
a disabled character. Like there are disabled actors out there, hire them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and I've had some people be like, well, what's the like, it's acting. Like you're acting in a role that you probably don't identify as. Like what's
Mm,
the difference between a person who is acting as like an alcoholic or like, something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know, it is different, but like sometimes I don't feel like I have the best answer.
mm.
How do
That's
you
fair. See,
how do you like for that?
I've argued with family members about this specific topic.
Yeah.
And it's as a disabled actor, like I see the other side. That's the hard part about these topics for me is like it's not black and white.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just like, well, that's wrong. Like obviously. But also, it's frustrating for me because I can see why other people would think differently than I do on
Yeah.
these specific topics. And so for this one specifically as a disabled actor, you are if if you are hiring if you are casting for a project and you know you have a disabled character and you purposefully hire a non-disabled character to play that disabled character, you are playing into the ableism that is already rampant in our performer community and in the acting specifically community. Most of the time, I hear from professionals in the industry, well, we would have hired a disabled actor to play that role, but it would have just cost too much money in accommodations. And okay, first of all, you don't even know what the accommodations would have been. How are you going to tell me that it would have cost too much money in accommodations? For me personally, here are the accommodations I need on set. I need like what do I actually need on set? I need sometimes I need larger print scripts. Okay, that's easy. Change that's on a computer. You could do that. Easy. Okay, next. Um Ramps. Okay, well, you already have ramps because you need people to wheel in heavy equipment all the time. So you have ramps on set. I've seen them. That's it. Those are my two biggest accommodations. Um, I mean, I'm sure I have more than that, depending on how long I'm gonna be there and whatever. But those are the two biggest things that I need. And those aren't hard. Like, you have not wasted any money in accommodating me for this role at that point. So I feel like that is professionally the biggest thing that I get told is, oh, well, accommodations are going to cost too much money. How about you hire the person first and then talk about it, and then figure out like what the accommodations actually are because you have no way of knowing that. If you're going to hire, I don't want to badmouth any actor, but I don't know if this is true, but if you're going to hire, let's say Julia Roberts, allegedly, okay, and she comes in and she's like, actually, I only eat blue M&Ms, and now you're wasting somebody's day because they have to individually sort all the M&Ms by color.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bigger accommodation than what I just needed. Like if you have a giant celebrity come in and be like, I only eat these things, so make sure they're stocked in my dressing room. I am allergic to this, and this, and this accommodation, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a disability. And so therefore, like I can only have this kind of makeup on my face, and I can only be in touch with these kinds of fabrics on my body and those kinds of things, all disabilities. But if you are willing to make those accommodations for a big named celebrity, why aren't you willing to make those accommodations for a disabled actor? You
Yeah.
know?
I
Um,
really like that comparison. That is a really good reminder that like everybody could have an accommodation. Like
and most
that's
likely you are disabled. Don't forget
yeah.
that. Do you wear glasses? You're
Yep.
disabled. Do you take meds every day? You're disabled. Sorry. Like
Yeah.
disability is inevitable, people. Um, as far as like the it's just acting comment, yeah, you're right. It is acting. However, I am not. It comes back to ethics. Okay. What is ethically important to you? What are your ethics and what are your morals? I understand people can have different ones. However, there's just in this situation, there's a right and there's a wrong. In my view and in my opinion, if you are going to give me a part, if you're going to give me an audition, if my agent emails me tonight and says, "Hey, we have this audition for you," it is a role meant for a black performer. Guess what? I'm not auditioning for that. Why? Because I'm not black.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not touching it. I'm gonna write back and be like, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I don't feel comfortable playing this role because of X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna pass. The end. End of discussion. So as far as acting goes, yeah, I consider myself to be a good actor and can play into circumstances that I did not actually live. However, you are not playing into circumstances when you are acting like you have a disability, but you really don't. You are, again, taking parts of different people's identities and putting them on for show.
Yeah.
And you will not do as good of a job as a non-disabled actor playing a disabled character than a disabled actor playing that same disabled character because you do not have the lived experience. You can do as much research as you want on the topic of where they lived and what time period this was and how they were treated and whatever else. You will not do as, I don't care if you're Leonardo DiCaprio, you will not do as good of a job as a disabled actor in that role. You just won't. Because as many non-disabled actors, as many great non-disabled actors as there are that many disabled actors out there in
Yeah.
this world, you know? So like, first of all, if it's not your job, don't comment on it. Second of all, like the end. Second of all, if it is your job and you are a performer and you are an actor, reevaluate your values and your morals and your ethics because this is a very empathetic job that we are in as performers. And if you cannot be empathetic to the point where you understand what roles are for you and what roles aren't, you should not be doing the job.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Uh,
I talk a lot.
no, I am right there with you. Um, I did you actually say Leonardo DiCaprio because he
He
did
did.
play a disabled
I
character?
know he did. That was a little bit before my time, but I do know that he did that.
That was a little bit, I mean, I don't know if it was before my time, but I've only seen like clips of it.
Yeah, me too.
By everyone being like, how he did like such a phenomenal job. And I think
Okay.
at that point I was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, like
I won't watch it because of that.
yeah, there's been a few movies I just haven't watched because it just didn't feel like it was respectful to the disabled community. And I'm
I
like,
agree.
I'm not gonna give you my, free brain space, uh, which is what you all want. So,
Also,
um,
I think that an important point to make is it not only comes down to the disabled character, but it also comes down to the writing of that disabled character. So if you are going to have a disabled character in your project, don't only cast a disabled person in that role. Also, hire a disabled or a team of disabled writers to write that character because again, they're going to do a better job than your non-disabled writers.
oh, that is a really good point that I have totally not thought of. I mean, as someone who's not in the industry, I'm not quite sure why I would think about it,
Right.
but
Makes
that
sense.
totally brings it to like the next level of like, it's not just the actor. Like there's, someone wrote those lines for them to say, and like, does the actor even have a say of like, that's like no one would ever say that, or like that
On
is.
good sets, they do.
I wonder how many good sets there are.
That part I can't speak on. I have no idea. But I can tell you by watching things, I can tell if it's a good set or not. And I
Oh,
could tell if there's a good team behind it or not.
like watching the movie or the show.
Yeah.
Ooh, so what movies would you suggest or shows?
Shows, I 100% recommend Speechless.
Oh,
Speechless is one of my
good. I
favorite
loved
shows.
I loved
I
Speechless.
love, you know why you loved Speechless? Because there was a team of disabled writers.
There was, I did not know that. Oh
Zach Anner was one of the
my
main writers.
gosh.
He's a disabled comedian. He was in the show at some points. He was a guest
Yeah.
star sometimes. And oh my gosh, the the guy who plays JJ DeMeo, his name is Micah Fowler. That's his name. Thank you. And Micah Fowler is his name, and he is actually disabled.
Yeah.
Um, and they had a lot, and every time there were other disabled people on screen, they were all actually disabled actors. So
Yeah.
that 100,000% is one of my favorite shows.
That's
Um, and then as far as my favorite movie recommendation, Crip Camp. Crip Camp
oh,
is
isn't that a documentary?
it is, but disabled produced, disabled directed,
Wow,
and disabled stars. So I I love that film. I will watch it over and over and over again.
man.
As well as Coda.
Oh, yeah. I loved Coda.
Yeah.
I actually used to work in the deafblind field. I worked with
Really?
California Deafblind Services in Helen Keller National Center.
Wow, amazing.
So when Coda came out, I'm pretty sure like every single friend of mine was like, "Have you seen this trailer?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Now
Yeah,
I."
I went and watched it with my cohort in college and we watched it and I I did not cry when I watched the movie, but all of my classmates did.
Yeah.
And there was like 15 of us. And I looked down the road because I just hear sobbing down the road. And I was like, pull yourself together. You're fine. And then afterwards they were like, they came to me, they were like, is that really like how the world is for you? And I was like, some of it is. I was like, what? I was like, did this just open your eyes to like a whole, and it did. It
Are
did. It
you
really
Coda?
did. Like I'm deafblind.
Yeah,
And
but
so
isn't
I'm not,
Coda's for children of deaf adults?
yeah, Coda is for children of deaf adults. And so they were asking because there were some like scenes where it was from the parents' point of view,
Yeah.
from Marley Matlin and Troy Kotzer's point of view. And so they were asking from that specific point of view. They were like, is that how the world is? And I was
Um,
like, a little bit. I was like, I'm only
wow.
half deaf, but kind of.
I thought they did a really good job. And I heard on set that so the girl who is playing the
Hmm.
Coda, the woman, that she learned sign language like for the role, but
Hmm.
then she also said they didn't want her to have interpreters on set, so she had to sign with everybody
That's hard.
to like learn the language even quicker. And I'm not quite sure if that was up to her. I'm pretty sure it was like I think she was the one that was like, no, I want to look like I want to actually be able to sign with everybody because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm in this role that I've been signing that I'm supposed to be signing all my life. Like
Yeah, it's
I
supposed to be fluent. Yeah, exactly.
so I even after learning that, I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
like how amazing to like
Hmm.
really immerse yourself
A
with
100%.
language. I love
Yeah.
sign language.
Me too.
Do you sign?
I'm learning right now. Yeah, so I gotta go to a lot of deaf events. My boyfriend, who's not deaf and not disabled, actually was fluent in sign before he met me.
Oh,
So, yeah, he's been teaching me a lot. We do voice off days around the house. So we do anytime my hearing aid is out, we're voice
yeah.
off. Um, which is really good practice. So I've also been going to usually a deaf event a week where there is no interpreters. There are no interpreters. You are just in the deep end of the pool trying to swim.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fast. So
Oh,
you
and
just
they could
have to
be
sit there and
trained.
be like,
Like
yeah.
you could be meeting deaf people who are like, they're and I mean what I've learned a lot from like the deaf friends I've made, they're very like direct to the point. Like if, I well, I was at a deaf event once where this person was like going around the circle asking everybody's name or maybe just all the new people. And so they
Mhm.
saw me and they were just like, what's your name? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, my name's Kayla. And I'm signing for people who are only listening. Um, and then they said, like, nice to meet you. My name is, and they finger spelled it super fast.
So fast. And like
And
they're like, it's like it looks like gibberish. You
yes,
have
and it was
you're like,
a
okay.
cultural name. Like they were black and they
Mm.
had a name that
Oh no.
was not a name that like that I've seen in my life. And Um, but I have been signing for like years. And so I was like, cool, nice to meet you. And then they were like, so what's my name? And I was like, and so I just finger spelled the letters that I saw. And I could not tell you what their name was, but I got enough of the letters that they were like, oh, and they were like all impressed with
Nice.
my signing. And I'm
Not
like,
the
I do
wow.
not know your name. Like if you ask me to write it down, it's not gonna make
You're
sense.
like, I have no idea. No idea. Maybe they
But
just do that. Maybe that like wasn't even
uh,
their actual name.
yeah, maybe. I don't even know.
They were like, do you get it, new person?
I know. It was super on the spot. And then it felt like, so then there was, deaf people, and then there were people in like ASL one,
Yeah.
like, signing like my
My
name.
name
And then they go to do their name and it's just like K.
in your face.
With their whole hand, and you're
Like,
like,
oh my,
oh, no,
okay.
okay. Um, I want to jump back to the Halloween costumes.
Oh yeah, we definitely derailed that.
We definitely went off on just like I mean, everything we've talked about, I think is so
I
important
agree.
for people to hear. I really wanted to talk about the Terry Fox video. I don't know, I sent it to you. I don't know if you're able to see it. It's okay if you didn't.
I did
Um,
not.
I'm going to describe it anyways for anyone
Okay.
listening. So, um, it's this video of this little kid who loves Terry Fox, and Terry Fox ran races. I'm not sure what kind. I don't know if he was in the Olympics, Paralympics. I actually don't know the history of Terry Fox. But he was a runner, and I think he got like first. Like I think he was a really good runner. But he had a limb difference, and so he
Hmm.
had a prosthetic leg. And so and he's passed on. I think this is like a while ago. He's been dead for a while. That felt insensitive how I said that.
He's
But
gone.
he's not here to give me his opinion. But this little kid loves him. And so he dressed up as Terry Fox for Halloween, and then he like keeps wearing his Terry Fox costume because he just like loves Terry Fox so much. But how he like made it his prosthetic, he like I think he like put something to like make his leg really straight and then like wrapped it with foil.
It's fair.
So when he runs,
That's
he
pretty good.
runs like how Terry Fox did, kinda. Like
It's kind of genius.
yeah, and this kid's like 5 or 6, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's pretty good. It's
Yeah.
pretty innovative.
Um,
He's gonna be an engineer.
well, he might already be because I feel like
Oh,
even
because this was a long time ago.
kind of,
Right.
I mean, Terry Fox was a long time ago, but I don't know how old the
Right.
story is. I should probably look into it. Go look him up, see what he's up to. Um, but so the news story was very positive that this kid was like, he
Most
loved
things are.
the
Yeah.
guy. Terry Fox has a foundation. The whole family met the little kid, like all the family, like his, I don't know, kids or whoever is there.
Yeah.
Um, they all met the kid and they thought he was so cute and they loved it. The Terry Fox Foundation loved it. It seemed like overall a very positive experience for everyone.
Right.
Other than Terry Fox, who doesn't have like doesn't get an opinion because he's not here anymore.
True.
Um, but that story I thought was really interesting because I'm like, I don't know, like that I think that's where me as like a non-disabled person
Mm.
kind of gets, but then I also felt like it was kind of disability porn, where it's like, what's the difference there?
I know you said you're not disabled, but like you are very educated on like disability issues.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
can tell you really the only reason was because I wanted to be a nurse. And then I realized
Mm.
I love holidays too much and I didn't want to work. And I was
That's
like,
pretty good.
well, and then I also like teaching. So I was like, well, where else can I
Mm.
go? And then I volunteered kind of like randomly with this group where I was playing sports with autistic children, and
Hmm.
a lot of them knew sign language, and I already knew sign language. And then I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. And then I was a one-on-one aide
Mm.
where I got the nurse training to work with a child who was deaf-blind and had like
Mm.
tube and like different things that I had to like be the nurse for. And I was just like, this is perfect. I get to be
Yeah, it all really connected.
things, my sign language, my
Yeah.
teaching and stuff. And then I got
Interesting.
holidays.
Yeah, this
Um,
is great.
and then within the first few years, I was like, why are my students not like getting to do everything that the other students are doing? And that
Hmm.
like brought me on this path.
I love that.
So that's my whole story.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the inspiration porn thing. In case anybody doesn't know what inspiration porn is.
Yes.
You it's a difficult topic. Basically, it's when disabled people are shown in a toxic positivity light where it's like, oh my gosh, look at her. She's in a chair and she's going to the grocery store. She's the most inspirational thing I've ever seen when like you go to the grocery store every week. Like, how is that different? Um, the things like that. And so news stories will often be like, oh my gosh, this young disabled girl, she raised money to get whatever. And then it's like, oh, and then the whole story isn't actually about how like she put together a lemonade stand. It's just about the fact that she was disabled and then they ended up giving her the money anyways because she's disabled. So, that's a fake story, by
Yeah.
the way. I just made it up. But it sounds like a real
I was
one.
about to look it up.
You were like, wow, this is good. Disabled girl lemonade stand. No, but it's this it plays into the infantilization of disabled people and the fact that non-disabled people just see us as inspiration. And that's we're so much more than that. Like we are people, we live lives, we have families, we have jobs, and we do not exist to be your inspiration, right? We do not exist and go out in public, get out of bed every morning with the intent of, oh, I'm just doing this to inspire someone today. Like, I have errands to do and rent to pay. Okay. I don't like my cat yells at me like anybody else. He does not care. He's also disabled, but he does not care about the fact that I am disabled. He's like, give me my food, lady. It is 6:45. I know what time it is.
Hmm.
So that does not make me inspirational. Like, I think the work that I'm doing is inspirational, and I think um I think that's about it. Like my body, I did not choose to be disabled. And so that's kind of what inspiration porn is. It's just seeing disabled people as inspirations and nothing else. So I think this is a really interesting case of inspiration porn because this little boy was not disabled, right? He was playing disability. So he was dressing up like he was disabled, which is a different form of inspiration for him because usually you see it as
Yeah.
like little kids are disabled or like adults who are disabled and they did nothing and now they have a news story on them, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so in this case, it's a little kid who's not disabled, but he's putting on disability as a costume. See, I still think I'm talking out loud about this. I still think it's wrong. I
Yeah.
still think
Well,
the
no, I think
parents should have stepped in.
what you just said, I think made a lot of sense of like he was like using disability. Oh man, you just like playing disability. That's what I
Yeah,
just put down with what you said, that he was like playing this disabled character, but he gets to take it off.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think you're right that like the parents, but I mean I really don't think a lot of people even think about this because I mean
Mhm.
even Terry Fox's foundation with his
Was like,
family,
oh my gosh.
they thought it was,
Okay, yes, they
so I
thought
think
it was
that's
that,
where
but
it's like
the whole foundation is run by non-disabled people. I guarantee you.
that is true.
I guarantee you.
I mean I guess
Nobody at that foundation is
I
disabled.
I cannot confirm, but I did not look.
Allegedly, all those were able-bodied, ableist people. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Like if somebody dressed up as me for
Yeah.
Halloween, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. But like if it was a child and no, if it was anybody and they like, first of all, I don't know how they would make my foot on foot prosthesis. Like that would be impressive to me. But if they somehow did, or if they like rented a terrible hospital wheelchair, and were like cosplaying me, I guess, I would take that time to educate. Like, I don't know, how would you as a parent combat that? I'm interested. Sorry to
Oh
turn this back on you, but I'm
yeah,
interested.
no, because I have been thinking about this because I do think I don't always know like how like bad it is or just like how
Mm,
ableist or just like how not like it's just not very sensitive to like other people's identity.
mm.
Um, but I do think like I would try to say, I mean, especially now, I mean, after being educated by you and Wes, who
You're
has
gonna be like, hang on, let me call Cassidy real
everything,
quick.
I do feel like now if I had a child who was like, I want to play this character, they have a limb difference, so I'm just gonna like tuck my arm in so it looks like I don't have an arm or something. I would probably at this point be like, well, what other attributes do they have like that we can show in a costume?
Mm,
Because like you do
that's a
have
good way. You
uh
do have an arm though.
like you have them. So you like,
Sorry. You weren't born deaf and you were born with arms.
I
My bad.
know. I am the worst. I am the worst advocate and mother. Um, so yeah, I mean, I mean, I think I'm still, it's really like I would say those now because
Mm,
of just me. wanting to continue to be an ally,
Sure.
even though like, and what you're saying totally makes sense that it's like you're playing a disability, like you're using a part of an identity that someone didn't choose as like this fun of like night thing where the at the end of
Yeah.
the night you get to just like take it off and you're like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not disabled anymore, or but
Like
like
that's so insensitive.
it
Like
is.
it's yeah. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I've already thought a lot about this with like, again, the cultural costumes where people are like, if your child wants to dress up as like Pocahontas, like, are you going to let them? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I guess like I would probably try to, I don't know. See, I still feel like I'm kind of torn and it's really going to have to be like on the spot
Hmm.
parenting because I do know that again, like, I mean, being Pocahontas would be like culturally insensitive, but it's like, is there a way that maybe we can like make this an educational thing of
And
like,
make it like paying respect towards that community
yeah,
instead. Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
get that. I think as a parent, I'm sorry, not as a parent. I feel like
you're
I'm
that
very
mom.
yeah, I'm a dog mom and I feel like I am kind of at a loss with a lot of parenting questions because I get a lot of parenting questions all the time. Like, oh, my kid wants to do this. What should I tell him? I'm like, I don't know. Sorry. I'm like, I'm 22. I'm living a child-free life right now. No idea. So then I go to like the moms in my life, like my mom, my boyfriend's mom, and I'm like, what would you do? Well, I don't know. How would you handle this situation? And so I always ask parents those questions just because I don't have all the answers. Surprise. I only know my experience. And I think children is one thing, adults are a whole other thing because children don't know any better, right? So it's our job to educate them and parents' job to educate them and do exactly what you were saying. I think that's a great approach of being like, okay, so what other attributes are there that we can, like what color is
Yeah.
their hair or things like that? What kind of clothes do they wear? Um,
So what
but
would you say to an adult? Like if
yeah,
you,
that's what I was just gonna say.
okay, look at
I
us, same wavelength
look at
here.
us.
Can I also be 22?
I don't know how to make that happen for you.
Even though I have to say, this is not the kind of conversations I was having at 22. So
Yeah, I didn't think that I didn't think that I would be having these questions, these conversations either at 22, but here we are. No, it's great. It is. It's just every day I'm like, wow, this is really my life. And then I see my peers and I'm like, that is so not where I am at this moment in my life.
you
Anyways,
are so like educated. And so
thank you. I read a lot.
I just love like what you like, I don't know. It feels like you've lived so much more
I feel like I've lived four lifetimes
average
in
22 year
this one
old.
body.
Ooh, which actually it makes me want to talk about this other thing, but we're going to talk about it later. Let's first
Okay.
talk about this. And I'm going to write it down so I don't forget.
Okay, yes, yes, write it down, write it down. What would I
Okay.
say to an adult? I would say I would first, I think, ask them why they're cosplaying, or yeah, I guess cosplaying a disabled person. And I can tell you what the answer it probably is. It's either one of two things. If it's something else, I would be shocked, but it's one of two things. It's either I thought it was funny, or like I thought it was funny and my friends dared me to do it, whatever. Or I was really inspired by that person. Okay. So then I would take two different approaches. The first approach, why do you think it's funny? Why do you think disability is funny? Am I funny to you? Um,
I love
like
asking questions to people.
I think
That's
because I
the
think
best way
I'm
to get
not
them
gonna
to,
get through to them. They have to come to the realization by
yeah.
themselves of like, oh, this might be wrong, right? Because you can tell somebody it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. And like we're seeing with politics, that just makes them stick their heels in the sand and not move. That
Yeah.
makes them defensive, and that's not the way to go. The way to go is to ask them questions out of a place of curiosity. Put your anger aside for a second. I know it's really difficult in these situations, but put your anger aside for a second and really ask them, like, is my body funny to you? Like,
Yeah.
actually, like genuinely curious. Is Why is disability funny? And wait for them to respond. And if they say, I don't know, then be like, great. So why are you doing that costume again? And most of the time they will come to that realization of like, I don't know anymore. And then they feel awkward about it and they don't want to do it. There you go.
Yeah.
Um, the goal is to make them feel uncomfortable. If they go, because then they don't do it. Most of the time when we feel uncomfortable, we don't do things anymore. So,
Yeah.
um, if they go the route of, well, I'm just really inspired by this person. Okay, why? Why are you inspired by that person? Well, they've just gone through a lot. Wrong. Okay, let's take it back. Um, if you are inspired by that person because of what they look like, they're just living. They're
Yeah.
just alive. I did not choose to be in this body. No, I did not choose this. Why would I choose this? Like, this is not a fun time sometimes. I love my life. Don't always love my body sometimes, which is a
Yeah.
problem. I get it. I'm working on it in therapy, okay? But, it's they are just existing and they are not there for your inspiration, which goes back to the inspiration porn thing. And if they say, well, I'm just really inspired by what they do for a living, okay, then dress up as the thing that they do for a living instead of dressing up specifically as that person.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just tell people, yeah, like I'm a gold medalist runner. And it's inspired by this specific Paralympic gold medalist. But, I realized it was insensitive to dress up as them with the prosthetic leg and everything. So I just chose a standard, gold medalist runner.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you think they
People,
could still dress as the person but without the disability?
yeah, sure.
Because, yeah, I mean, the little kid as Terry Fox had like a wig on, he had like a little running outfit, like he
Yeah.
had everything else. And I think he did have a medal of some sort.
And I mean, I'm sure there are different opinions on this, but I don't see a problem with people paying respect to disabled people in costumes, being like, I'm inspired by this person because of what they've accomplished. Okay, that's a different thing. That's not inspiration porn. You're actually inspired by them for good reasons. Um, I'm inspired by this person so much so that I'm going to pay respect to them with my Halloween costume this year. Okay, great. That's a different conversation. If you want to forego the cosplaying the disability part, and again, just educate people. People are gonna ask what you are. I guarantee you. People are gonna be like, "What are you?" Even if it's really obvious. People are still gonna ask. So just be like, "Yeah, I'm inspired by this disabled person." The end. That's all I gotta say. And who
Yeah.
cares if people think it's weird? Okay, Halloween's weird, so there are weirder costumes than those giant inflatable T-Rexes. Okay, they're gonna worry about what you're doing over there? No, no,
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah. Well, I think that's totally great. I mean this is definitely the only other question I was thinking about is so what if someone has uh like a disability that like they broke their leg and so they're in a wheelchair for a few like whatever however long it takes to fix that broken leg. Um but they're in a wheelchair for like a couple months and it happens to be during Halloween. Do you think that would be insensitive for them to dress as a person who uses a wheelchair?
I have so many opinions on temporarily disabled people. Temporarily disabled people feel the compulsive need. It's not a want, it's a need to involve themselves in the disability community for however long they are temporarily disabled. And usually it's like 3 months.
Oh,
And
they like leave
yeah,
and they're like, well, done with that. Thanks, community. See you
yeah.
later.
And then they're like, I recovered from this really hard injury. And I don't doubt that it's hard. Okay. But like, that's so insensitive to those of us who can't recover.
Yeah.
I am like this for the rest of my life. I've come to terms with that. I'm so glad, Henry, that you broke your leg that one time skiing. Okay. But like, get over it. You're
That
fine.
yeah. I-
Or they try to involve themselves in the disability community, or they'll go, yeah, I totally understand what it's like to be disabled because one time I broke my leg and now I have one screw. I'm like, one, try 16. Okay, we'll talk about it. And they're like, yeah. And then I realized, this one time I couldn't get up a curb and I was like, this is really hard. So then I just got out of my chair and I was like, what? I'm like,
This is like a whole thing with like simulations. When I was working with California Deafblind Services, there would be some occasions where we would do them, but before we would ever do them, we would make a very big deal of like, just because we are putting a blindfold on you and and you're putting earplugs in, you
"Mm,
do not know what it's like to be deaf blind. Like what we want you to
this
learn.
is not your lived experience. This is for 5 minutes.
And it's like what we want you to learn is that you are going to be communicating differently. Like you're not going to
Mhm.
be able to rely on your vision and hearing. Like so you're going to see and it usually would help people's perspective of like, okay, I have a student who is blind and they do get really frustrated when I like come up, where I
I
come up
wonder why.
shoulder. Yeah. But it's like if they haven't at some
Yeah, if they haven't thought about it.
and I remember I did a simulation when I was in grad school, and it was because we were practicing guiding each other. And so yeah, it was the blindfold and earplugs. But I'm tall. I'm 5'10". And so we're walking around and it's like a person I trusted guiding me, and it's a building that I have visually seen for years.
Multiple times. Yeah.
But while we were walking, I like kept ducking. And it was like a sensory thing that I just didn't even think about
Yeah.
that started making me think of all like the people I've worked with who are deaf or
It
blind,
makes sense.
blind. And I was like, okay, this makes sense why you like, you might move like this or you do like all of a sudden I was kind of seeing things where I'm like, oh, that was pretty crazy. Like I didn't realize that if I couldn't see things, I was gonna be so like
Yeah.
confused. What do you
Yeah.
call it? But the
Disoriented.
yes to disoriented. There's a word for it. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
I
Okay,
hate when that happens. Yeah, I
okay.
think it's one thing if you like take a sense of like respect for the people because of that experience that you had while you were temporarily disabled. But it's another thing if you were like, and then I overcame the obstacles. And
Yes.
that's 99% of the time what people with broken legs or broken arms have said to me. They're like, yeah, I had a service dog once. I put him in the cart. And I'm like, that was not a service dog.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay, so I'm going
Stop.
to say with these people should not dress as a disabled person because they're in a wheelchair for like 2 months.
No,
It
they
feels
should not.
insensitive.
Feels
And
insensitive.
again, very eye-opening. Okay, how I was saying that I just feel like you are so educated. Like it feels like what did I just say? That like you've lived like four lives and you're 22. Um I don't know if you've read this book, and it actually is right in front of me, which is crazy, but
I
disability.
love Alice.
Um,
Alice is one of my faves. I have
I
not read that book. Sorry, Alice,
oh,
but I will. It's on my
well,
list.
this is my second time reading it because I'm
Okay.
reading it for a book club for the Recess Project, which is like a
Love it.
nonprofit that I'm in on. But we're doing like a book club where we read books by disabled authors
Oh my
or
gosh, send me all of your recommendations,
oh my gosh.
please.
Okay. We're about to be talking for like the next five
No, I
hours.
know. We will.
Um, but I love this book. And so
Okay.
Alice Wong edited like a bunch of stories from other like disabled people.
Yep.
I don't even think they're all advocates. I think it's just all of their um, stories of
Yep.
like, and it's all whatever. Okay. There's a chapter in here called Crip Time,
Mm.
and it's about how this person gets told about Crip Time, and they at first think like, oh, is it because like we're late because we have accommodate like she says something like that, but then she's like,
No, girl.
no,
That is
it's
not.
not that. It's that a lot of people with disabilities are going through things that non-disabled people don't really go through.
Mm-hmm.
And so it like basically like ages them of like,
Mm-hmm.
they're experiencing like really hard things that some
Mm-hmm.
people don't experience, if maybe ever. Like they're having to fight for things that a lot of non-disabled people have to. And so it was talking about the difference. of a disabled person's time on earth compared to a non-disabled person. And it was, I don't even think I really realized the chapter the first time I read the book, but oh, the second
Yeah.
time I was just like blown away. I was like, this is
Mm,
so true.
100%. I could not agree with you more. Um, yeah, I think that, well, I joke that I've lived 4 lives and because I really have. Um, I not only grew up disabled, but I also grew up in a very abusive household, where there was drug abuse and alcohol abuse and verbal and physical abuse and all the rest. And so that also plays into, why I'm so mature for my age. And so I not only went through 43 surgeries, but I was also dealing with violations of parenting plans and so my biological father not paying his child support and seeing what the dark side of alcohol and drugs can do to you. He eventually passed away from a drug overdose when I was 13. And so that alone ages you, but
Yeah.
then going through multiple near death experiences and also having to fight for my rights to be in general education all 12 years of my schooling and fighting for my rights to
Ah, that's so
um
frustrating to
yeah, they
even
would try to put me in special
so
ed every
frustrating.
single year, every year. And even though I was scoring
So much.
I was scoring average test scores. And I was actually above my reading and writing level every single year. And math was a different story, but reading and writing, I was like, I can do that. And every year we had to fight to keep me in regular or general education. We had to fight to get schools to comply with ADA law. We had to fight to get me the basic health care that I needed.
Ah,
I
ah,
mean, it goes on and on. And so
I might
I
be smiling, but I'm like, I'm super pissed for
yeah,
you.
you're processing. I get
Sucks.
it.
It sucks. Like I
Yeah, it's horrible.
can't
Um,
believe that that's
yeah.
like just how many people have to deal with this? Like
It's ridiculous, and it does come down to our ableist society that we live in.
yeah.
And, on top of all the medical trauma, on top of all of the familial trauma and living in poverty for a good portion of my life up until my teenage years. And don't worry, my mom and I are writing a book about all of this right now.
Oh,
But
I was gonna ask if you're gonna be writing something because I
yes, we are in the process.
would buy them. I'm just letting
Yeah.
you know already.
Anyways, so after surviving, really,
Yeah.
and then going through normal college and also a pandemic, I think aged everyone. I was in the class of 2020 for high school graduation. So I didn't get
Oh,
a prom. I didn't go to graduation. Didn't get any of that. My first actual graduation was college. And I was like, what are we doing? What's going on? And then the
wow.
administration had to like sit us down and be like, yeah, none of you have actually ever had a graduation before. And we were like, no, what is it? What happens?
Gosh, I have not met anybody who has graduated in
Hi.
2020.
Nice to meet you.
That must have been so hard.
Yeah. And I mean, watching how the disability community was treated during that time too
Oh my
really
gosh.
did not make me feel like I mattered. Going through depression and anxiety and PTSD and all of the above. And, also going to college and having a super, super fun time and dating. And that was a different story. And, all of the above. Also, all the while looking different, going to college, moving 1,000 miles away, which no one thought was possible other than my mom and me. Um, Moving with a giant 100-pound dog who's my child, and my service dog, and all of that to say, and also being in a steady relationship for 2.5 years, where I don't think the majority of my peers could say that they have that kind of steady, healthy
Oh no.
relationship, romantic
At
relationship.
22? No.
Yeah.
No, no.
We
But
live together, we like it's very steady, it's very healthy, and we have a household, we have animals, we have, the whole 9 yards. And so I often joke that I feel like I'm 45. I also am my own boss. So I do social media full time. Like I'm working right now. This is my work. Like this
Yeah.
is what day in my life consists of. Um, and being my own boss, running my own brand, which is me and myself, and also running a grassroots movement along with a campaign. And yeah, so I think I literally have lived more than four lives
Oh,
in
yeah.
my 22 years. And a lot of that results back to the disability because without without being disabled, I literally would have no idea who I would be right now. It is the reason I'm so empathetic. It is the reason it's not only the reason I look the way I do, it's the reason I act the way I do. It's the reason I'm so in tune with other people's emotions and able to read energy so well.
Yeah.
And it's the reason I have a good head on my shoulders and the reason I've learned so many life lessons and
Yeah.
that crip time is a very real thing. It's a very real
You,
thing and it's
even in your description just now, you just said another chapter in this
oh
book.
really
Like you just talked about another topic that they talk about. So you pretty
Mm,
much have to read this book and then
pretty
like
much
know exactly what you think about it. The just, every chapter, if you could just keep texting me or
great.
whatever.
I'll be like, finish this one. Here are my notes.
Perfect. That's what I want. I should have told you this before because I did not tell you anything.
That's
Again,
okay.
I was so busy. So I've been doing this new thing at the
Okay.
end of my podcasts. I have
Fun.
this Mystic Cats tarot card reading.
Oh
So cool, right?
no, you are like you don't understand. You don't get it. I have been for months telling everyone in my social circle that I'm very witchy by nature.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need tarot cards. I need tarot cards. I need tarot cards. And my friend was like, there are no disabled people in these tarot cards. So we're like making a tarot deck focused on disabled people right now. Like that is like what my whole life is consisted of.
Oh
So the
my
second you were
God.
like tarot, I was like, "Ooh, you don't get it." I was like, oh my
Oh my
God, that's
God.
crazy.
That is so cool. And
Nobody steal
love
my
that.
idea. I swear. Nobody steal my idea. It is not copyrighted.
I love that
Give me
so
a few years, it'll be out. I promise.
yeah. I got it at my local bookstore.
I
I
love.
basically sold them some of my books, and then with the money they gave me, I went and bought this.
You went and bought
So,
more things. You were like,
yeah,
thank you so much. I'll give it back to you. And
exactly what
I'll
happened.
get this.
So you're just gonna ask a question, and then I'll like I don't know move the deck until you tell me to
Oh,
stop.
I'll ask a
So
question. Oh no. Okay.
I know, I know.
Let me
See, this is why
think.
I should have told you before.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the same route as you, actually. And I'm gonna say, what will my career, I'm gonna say, what will my career feel like by the end of this year? Yeah, I'm just gonna copy you.
I like that. I thought it was a
Sure,
great question. Do you want me to
sure.
like shuffle it some more? Are you sure?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Thing?
Okay, stop.
Bam. Okay. Huh. Okay, we got an upright Queen of Wands.
Okay.
Oh, I have to look in my book and see
Because
what it
you haven't memorized them yet. I
is.
love it. Now,
I
take
probably
a
need
look
to
at my
get better
book.
at.
I
But
love it.
so Queen of Wands,
Mhm.
um, so independent and confident is because it was upright. That is like the first thing it says.
Thanks.
I totally, I totally feel like you are, this is just like independent and confident. How independent and confident I feel like you are already at like, dude, 22. I'm pretty sure that was my gap year because I was like, I didn't prepare for grad school. I am like sitting there like, well, I guess I'll be a para and figure
I guess this is what I'll
it
do.
out. Like, met my first boyfriend that I ever had.
I
That was
love that.
like maybe a year. Oh
I
man,
love that.
it was a very different life.
Then that's okay.
It is. It is
I love
okay.
that for you.
Thank you. So let's see. The queen lies in the warm sun in the blooming flowers, living her best life.
Oh, wow.
This is
Does that mean more
perfect.
money? Because that's what I need right now.
You know how to make things happen. You are bold and courageous in your actions and you follow through. Don't shy away from this power. Share your enthusiasm with the world. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
this is a really good one.
Wow, I'm glad. I'm glad it's not like you are going into a financial dry spell. You
I
are actually,
Oh my gosh. Well, I will make sure to like have all your information at the
yes,
bottom
please.
so everybody can find you and
Thank you.
also be as obsessed with you as I am.
That's so nice.
Um, but in a really healthy adult way.
Right. Healthy
And I
adult
won't
way.
dress up as you for Halloween.
Okay, thank you. We kind of already kind of look alike, so I feel like
We do.
we do a little bit.
I do
It's the
have bangs.
glasses. Oh, you have bangs.
Yes,
Okay.
but my tomorrow I'm washing my hair. It's like it's
No, that was me yesterday. I was like, don't actually look at me today. And tomorrow is my hair wash day.
yeah, it's a
No, I
bang
get it.
problem.
I
It's
get it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Good
you
to
so
hear
much for
from you.
having me.
Thank you again for everybody who was here to listen. Make sure to go look through all the show notes to go see how you can follow Cassidy and her journey of just political self-advocacy, everything. And she'll probably be president someday. So it's good to know her now. Again, don't forget Dallas the Dog. It's only available on my website, inclusionstartsnow.com. As you can see in the background for anybody who's watching the video, I have 100% self-published all of my books and they all live in boxes in my house. So help me clear up some room and buy my books. Inclusion starts with you, and we just want to help. Have a good night.